Good evening, everybody. Welcome to the City of Palatka. We are at the City Commission Budget Workshop. This is our first budget workshop of the budget season. It is April 8th, 2026 at 6 p.m. We're going to begin with the invocation by Pastor Mulberry and Pledge of Allegiance led by Commissioner Davis. Please stand if you're able.
Good evening, everyone. Father, again, thank you for this day. We thank you for how good you've been. You blessed us to come together once again in your presence. We thank you for these leaders, God, that you've chosen for such a time as this. God, we pray that you will crown their heads with wisdom, insight, understanding, whatever is necessary to move the city in the right direction. Pray, God, for this budget meeting, that you will be the visited guest in it. God, that you will do what needs to be done through it. And we thank you for what you've done and all you're doing now. It is in Jesus' name we pray. Amen.
Amen.
Please join me in the pledge of our flag. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Roll call, please, Madam Clerk.
Commissioner Davis? Present. Commissioner Campbell?
Present.
Commissioner Jones?
Here.
Commissioner Borum? Mayor Carrera?
Present. Thank you. We're on to public comments. Is there anybody here for public comments? Seeing none, we'll close public comments. We're right on to regular business item, general budget.
Yes,
Ms.
Mayor.
Yes, go
if
ahead,
I
Ms.
may.
Cotty. Yes.
Okay, first of all, good evening to everyone that's here. Thank you for your efforts and your time and energy. I'm actually going to turn this over to our finance director, but I just wanted to say that today the intent is to present an overview of the budgeting process, environment, proposed budget, and what's going to be the next steps. And we all know it's a working document, changes constantly until we get to that final draft. We want to make certain that the commissioner directives, departmental needs, and the community desires are addressed in this budget for the coming year of 26-27. And with that, I'd like to bring our finance director, Ms. Pierre, up to the podium. Thank you.
Thank you.
Greetings, everybody. Could you pull up the attachments that are included?
You want all three up or just one at a time?
If you could pull up the first one that's attached. Would it be possible to pass out the budget? Oh, you did?
We already have those, yes.
Okay. Okay, great. So we'll start with this packet here, the proposed budget workshop packet.
Is your mic on?
Oh, sorry. Can you hear me?
Yes, now we can. Thank you.
Okay, sorry. I forget that I'm not loud. I'll try to project my voice as much as possible. If you can go to the next page, please. Oh, so this is just an overview of the budget. Being a numbers person, this is the most exciting time for me because this is our time to communicate what we expect, what the city, the needs of the city, the progress, and it's a work in progress because we have to receive input from the commission, from constituents, from residents. If anything, the best thing to do would even theme the budget. If there was one word that we could use to describe the budget, what would it be? What direction do you see is the city going into in the next 12 months? And we hope that we could achieve that with this throughout the budget process. Go to the next page, please. So here we're just talking about the budget process, and today being the most important day in my mind because this is the beginning of the whole process. This sets the tone. This is where we get a picture, a vision, the strategy, the initiatives, the plans, the direction that we would like to see the budget go in. if our theme would be to save, to make progress, to be community focused, to serve, if there was a one-word theme, I think it would help communicate to all parties involved as to what direction the budget should be going in. Go to the next slide, please, or the next page. And this is a beautiful representation of the entire budget process and some of the steps involved. And my favorite word, goals. Having goals, what goals we have in mind, what goals would we like to achieve? Are we planning to build? Are we planning to revitalize? Are we planning to, what type of improvements should we be focusing on within the next 12 months? Although we can't do everything because we're constrained with fiscally, because money is finite, but if we have a clear direction where we want to go, then we can have the most bang for our buck. Next slide. Oh, this is another favorite word of mine, 2 words. Zero-based budgeting, which basically means, in my words that I've heard before, give every dollar a name. Every dollar has a goal, a direction, an action. Every dollar has a purpose. And that's zero-based budgeting. Is just making sure that there's no room for clarity or confusion, that every dollar is assigned a purpose and a plan. At the end, we hope to have the budget approved. And here we're just going over the history of Palatka and where we were, where we've been, and the budget is the next step. Where are we going? There's the history and the projected future based on the statistics that we've obtained in the past. You can go to the next slide. And at today's budget workshop, we're here to just set the tone and paint the picture for what we want as far as our goals and our initiatives. The next slide. So here's where we get into priorities. This is just a starting point. This first meeting is all about input and providing what was done in the past, but also what are we focused on. This is a long list of priorities that we have in mind, but if this does not align with what is needed or where you all would like to see the city of Palatka going in, this is the forum to talk about it. Okay, and yes, please. Okay, so we have our strategic planning. Oh, if you could make it bigger, please. Okay, so with planning, any type of planning, we start off broad. We start off with what the theme is, whether it's a one-word theme, whether it's a visual, what would be our focus for this budget year. And based on that theme or focus, we would develop goals. There are already goals in place, which is understood, but I believe the clearer, the more clarity, the more focus, the more finite we're focused on with our budget, the more we can accomplish, the clearer the communication, the easier it is for all parties involved to execute the budget appropriately. Action. Oh, don't stop there in the action. I love that word, action plan. So the budget will help every department, every part of the city determine what needs to be done. What projects do we need to complete first? What are the concerns, based on the concerns and plans and goals that we receive from all input from all parties involved, we can take action. Okay, and oh no, don't skip that, the smart city initiatives. So this is a great depiction of some of the initiatives in general that we can focus on and consider for this year's budget. And this is just a starting point. And I believe with each initiative, you could dive deeper, and you could spend more time into. But I also would like to emphasize the importance of having a focus. If we have too many initiatives, if things are spread too thin, then it limits what we can accomplish. Next page. Okay, so the 4 core areas here that is also open for change, but I wanted to pick up with what was done previously, and renewal. If the areas listed there, affordable housing, community strategies, transportation, what are the areas that we should be renewed, revitalized? What areas should we invest in? Infrastructure is another key that I think is important for the city of Palatka. Investing in expanding, replacing the sidewalks, replacement of street signs, the water and sewer is a big area for all of us. You can continue down the page. Potable water facility improvements, that's a big area that we should consider for this year's budget. Go to the next page, please. Okay, and of course, service. Service is a critical part of the city. All we do every day is serve, and knowing what type of website, software, what areas can we consider and invest in so that we can serve our residents better. Next page. Oh, wait, stop there. That GIS, I saw that, my face went yes. The GIS, yes, GIS map for the city, for community assistance. This is, I believe, wonderful to have and invest in and utilize, and it will help in so many ways. And this is one of the areas I believe we should definitely invest more time and consider in utilization of rainwater, family entertainment, improvement of educational literacy, very wonderful initiatives that we can consider for this year's budget. Next slide. Okay, community building, the beautiful playgrounds, the parks, bike paths, community engagement, public health, all of those are wonderful buzzwords. And the question today is this an area that we should be focused on when it comes to our budget? Is this a priority? Next. Oh, that's it. Okay. We can pause. Oh, yes.
Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
So I think what's next is the actual budget, right, the draft. So before we move into draft, I want to press pause here for a minute. This is my second year on the commission, so I've had one full year to kind of get up to speed and understand our budget better. Before we dive into the meat of the budget, I'd like to talk a little bit about some of the budget, I guess I would say, policies, right? I want to talk a little bit about policies. I want to talk a little bit about the structure of this budget. I want to talk about the format of the budget and things like that. So I want to, whatever we want to call that before we get into the meat, okay? So my first recommendation, I'm going to just put it out there. My first recommendation is that at this point in time, I'm assuming you're still using Excel for this budget. What are you using to create this budget?
What
I
we're
don't know.
using-
I said I'm assuming.
Oh,
So
you're
can you
saying-
tell me what you're using to create this
Absolutely,
budget?
yes.
What is our budget?
We have an ERP
Solution.
system that we utilize. That's the starting point for preparing that report. The ERP system
Okay.
has customized reporting where you can customize in the ERP and select what, format it and set up a report that you can run, and it will kick out that report.
Okay. So let's then talk about reporting.
Okay.
So it kicks out this 70-plus page report with all of the funds just in this fashion, pages 1 through 72. So it's not very user-friendly. So this is what I want to get down to. So I'm glad to hear we have an ERP solution. Because this is not very user-friendly. You know, as we're trying to look through this, it's very difficult to pinpoint anything we want to hone in on. So that is one thing. So the second thing, because when I look at this report, it looks like it's something, are you able to export in Excel?
Right, that's
Oh.
the next step. We generate the report in our ERP system, we put it in Excel.
Okay, so is this report an Excel report?
It's well, now it's a PDF.
Is
but
this a PDF of an Excel report?
Okay.
Is it?
Yeah, yes.
Okay,
yes.
so if that's the case, then what I'm going to request is that a few things as we continue on with the process for ease of reviewing this and making recommendations. Number one is if we can get an Excel spreadsheet and you can make sure that it's not editable, but I would like to be able to sort and search. So we need a functional document, especially with the document being this big. Ideally, I would really like to have each fund in its own Excel download. So the general fund, the Better Place Fund, the TIF fund, and the ARPA fund, ideally. So we can look at those separately. Okay.
Oh, absolutely.
I mean, I'm not,
Yes,
I'm
yes.
sorry.
I didn't know if you wanted me
I
to
didn't,
respond.
I didn't,
yes,
I'm still
ma'am.
talking.
Okay.
I just want to get this, and please, if somebody needs to come in before I finish, but I'm gonna, so those are my requests for proper reviewing of this document. And then I have some other questions, but I'm going to press pause here because I want to make sure, I want to tell you what my questions are to see if I need to do it at a specific time as you're going through this. I have questions about carry forward accounting, how we're carrying forward. I have questions about how can we appropriately review budgets for the next year or prepare for the next year when we don't have a report of all of the projects that we have implemented or are implementing and the amount of money allocated, the amount of money spent, the amount of money left. Will those projects plan to go into the next year? I think that'll help us with some better planning. Let's see. And I will tell you what I'm going to hone in on at the appropriate time is as I was looking through this report, I have a lot of questions about the transfers in and transfers out of accounts, back and forth, in and out. Okay. And then another question I have, and this has to do with our bank accounts. I know in a previous meeting, there was a question, I believe when we were talking about the airport fund in particular, and I know it's included in our enterprise fund, if that's the right word. All of our accounts are with Ameris Bank? Is that who we bank with? Ameris Bank? And so, of course, like I said, this is after my first full year. Of course, I look at best practices and trying to understand if there's opportunity for us to make some significant changes as we go forward. One, that makes sure we're compliant legally, from a government perspective. And of course, that we can offer transparency, not just to the board, but make an ease of us to look at this and provide good feedback and make good decisions, but also for our public when we're going to post this out to the public. But that's a side note. And so my question is, when I looked at some best practices, some best practices are for certain funds to have their own accounts. I know it's not required, but again, for best practices and to make sure we're transparent and contained within a fund. And I'm going to make this real simple, even if, I don't know if it's necessary. I have a daughter with special needs who has income, but we're her guardians over her income. Her money is not in my personal account. It's in her account, and I pay all her bills from that because I can run a report to say at any given time, these funds allocated for this thing, income and expenses are here, not a subset of mine. I could do it all in mine and segregate. And what I'm asking is, I would like us to look at the opportunity to separate certain funds, specifically our TIF funds and our ARPA funds, into a different account. Because again, as I was looking at this report, it's muddled to me. And I'm concerned, and I want to make sure that we are meeting, I want to make sure we're exceeding standards. I don't want to meet any standards. I want to exceed standards. So, and I'm going to stop there with that. And then as we go forward, I'll have specific questions about specific line items. Thank you.
You're welcome. And recently, in fact, the airport's funding has been put in a separate account. I just signed the documents. So there is a separate account that was just opened for that, so it won't be considered commingling with them. The CRA funds are.
Are also in a separate account, the TIF funds
Yeah, yeah.
as well. And additionally, airport has to be in an interest-bearing account. So that's why we had to pull it out of the sweep. Additionally, ARPA is also in
On
a separate account.
They are
So
separate.
some things are already achieved.
So ARPA is in its own account?
Yes.
Yes,
Airport?
Airport now has their interest-bearing.
that's new. And TIFs, and there are three separate TIF accounts based on each.
In 3 separate accounts, is that true?
For TIF, let me verify that part. I'd like to verify
Well, it should be,
The TIF.
because again,
per district.
per district, yes,
Exactly.
yes, it should be. And I believe it's been for some time, so
And I
hopefully
believe
that's true.
We did it already, but I just want to confirm.
And for clarification, and so then the general fund and the Better Place Fund are all one account?
No. Isn't
I,
that-
I would prefer that you give us an opportunity to come back. I don't want to answer abruptly, because we have a lot of bank accounts, and some of them are sweep and some of them are not.
Okay, so that would be very helpful. Again, just that information when I'm sorting through and how to track.
So even with, if I may, with our next budget workshop, and even prior to that, you could send the breakout of the various cash accounts.
All right, I'm gonna stop.
Okay, thank you. Go ahead, Commissioner.
I'd like to say to Commissioner Davis, thank you for bringing up those points. I think they were very valid. But I also want to, with the short presentation that was provided to us, how is this going to play out? And I asked that question simply because you gave us a presentation which you wanted us to identify words, or you wanted us to identify how are we going to do that prior to jumping into the budget so that we have I guess as a collective unit, we know how we want to move forward. And also at what point, or if at any point, are we going to hear from the department heads?
So you have a copy of the budget calendar, which lists out what the next steps are. The hope for today's meeting was mainly to get what the direction of the budget as a whole, like what the initiatives are, what are the goals, what are what is it that you would like us to focus on? We are only halfway through the year.
No, I get it.
So
And so I'm
we're-
I'm
okay.
asking that question because one, I'm appreciative that we are starting this process earlier than we have done so in the past, which gives us the opportunity. I want to know exactly what do you want us to accomplish tonight? And I say that because I don't want to necessarily dive into the creeks and crevices of the numbers until we've identified what you feel would help lead and guide this conversation as we go forward. So if you want us to collectively come up with that word or the phrase, or like, do you feel that we need to address that prior to jumping into the numbers so we don't go in and not have a clear direction as to what the overall focus is? And so that's the reason why I asked this question, because I don't want to move forward with diving into the numbers if it's not a necessity tonight, or when you have given us somewhat of a task to do prior to jumping into the numbers.
I agree with what you've said. I prefer for us to focus on a high level right now, to know what the goals are, what are the initiatives, and the more specific that you can be, the better, because it would provide clarity for department heads, for everyone involved, and they would understand when they sit down to prepare their budgets for the upcoming year, they understand, okay, this year it's about progress. This year is about revitalization. This year is about expansion. This year is about stewardship. Like, they have some,
Gotcha. And so saying that, Mayor, if I may, how would you
if
like to proceed this evening to ensure we accomplish everything that you just stated?
can we go back to this and just identify what's the focus as far as initiative? Because there's a lot of initiatives in this. If we could nail down, which ones are a priority, which ones do we hope to accomplish within the next 12 months? What are, based on your rapport with the residents, with the constituents of Palatka, what have they told you? Do they have concerns about the roads? Do they have concerns about the neighborhood, the blight? Is it the transportation? Is it the signs? What is it? What are the items that we can nail down tonight, and all parties, department heads can hear and they can run with what is stated?
And so you just brought up another point that I was going to address.
Okay.
Because where are our department heads? And this was a conversation that
Well, I mean, other than the ones that are here.
well, other than the ones that are here,
Yes, right.
because we've even had this conversation in previous workshops,
Yes.
in previous years, making sure that we hear from our department heads directly with regards to the budgeting process. But not to labor on that, I would strongly suggest that we iterate those things to them as we move forward so that they are a part or feel as if they are a part of this process. So that being said, I'm ready to dive in, and I think this will probably be a combination of not only the finance director, but the city manager as well as the commission, because I think it kind of goes back to what Commissioner Davis stated as within her first opening statements with regards to knowing what we have on the table this current year. What can we somewhat say, we have these in play, we'll be here by the time this budget needs to get fixed. So it's not a high priority, even though those things will remain a priority. How can we navigate from that perspective so that as we move forward and we begin to identify the words or what's happening, if those things are happening now, what can we now focus on moving forward, if that makes sense?
Okay.
May I?
Go ahead.
Is it okay? Okay, so from my perspective, one of the greatest achievements that we need to do during this budgeting process for this year is to make certain that we are going to complete we're going to be completing about $25 million dollars worth of grant-funded projects. That's a minimum. And so that's going to be the primary concern from my perspective, that in fact, we do have what you've already asked for, and we will provide the project listings and what has been spent so far, project to date, what's remaining. So that's a big item. It's more than 25 million, maybe a good 30 million, but definitely $25 million within the next 12 months, we're going to have to spend. So that's a big item for me. And that is particularly related to infrastructure improvement, development, commitments from grant and both legal appropriations, or Florida, how do we say it? Florida appropriations. So that's primary. Coupled with that is, of course, our process, which we are perfecting. Our process of, sending those reimbursements out timely, receiving the funds timely. So that's pretty much it.
Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
And, thank you. So, two things. One, you were mentioning what we hear from our constituents, and I'd like to share a little bit about what I hear. And one is we're doing a lot of work, granted, but what I do hear is that sometimes the work is oftentimes not quality work, not complete work. Who's coming to look at it? Who's signing off before we pay these people to do this work? We had a ride-along yesterday with code enforcement. I had a ride-along with Ms. Cardi and code compliance. I apologize. Code compliance, and even the roads has been fixed. We just bumping right along over them. So it's not just what constituents say, it's what we can prove. And so that's what I'm hearing a lot of. We're doing a lot of work, but it's not translating to our community. That's what we're hearing. So they see us as sitting here wasting money. So that's the reality. And I think it's good to know this before we get into this budget. And that's why I was mentioning about project statuses, how much money we spent, what's closed, what's open, where we are. The other thing is I want to make sure when we're talking about projects, because sometimes this gets mixed together, I'm talking about all projects for the city. And I'd like to see them allocated by city-funded and grant-funded in the combination of city and grant. Because when I went to get some information, I believe last year, I did not get the response I expected, because a city project is a city project. I didn't ask for funding. I asked for city projects. And so we need to know all of that. And it's very difficult to determine how we want to allocate future dollars when we don't know how current dollars are being spent and how past dollars have been spent. And I know we've had, and to Commissioner Campbell's point, I'm so glad we're doing this early. And that's why I want to take the time to ask these questions so that we can make sure we have time to really delve into things that we might not have had time to do before. It's a good time to get this stuff cleaned up. The second question is, I believe we were supposed to get a state of the city.
It's being edited currently.
I know it's April. When did the state, what period is it covering?
24, 25.
Exactly.
And we
And it's
started-
April.
We started at the end of January, and it just takes time.
O-
Also,
okay.
it has not been done previously. It's a new activity, and it is done now. It's,
So,
The state of the city has been done before under Mayor
oh,
So-
so under which mayor?
Hill.
Okay,
so
so
the
they
point,
didn't show
Ms.
it to
Cardi,
me.
I'm not asking you to give me reasons why it's not done. I'm saying
Okay.
the fact that it's not done is unacceptable.
Okay.
That's what I'm saying. I just want to be clear. I'm not looking for reasons. It's April. Again, our constituents don't even know what we're doing. And where I'm really building to is that this is what we hear all the time, most of us. And we have the capacity to change that. But timing is everything. the fiscal year ended September 30th?
Yes.
Oh, okay, I just want to make sure. I mean, September 30th, and I get it, but there are things we can do that I don't see happening timely that will make a huge impact on our community. Yes, our staff works hard, but we need to make sure our staff is prioritizing what needs to happen first and timely. That's really what I want to add. And yes, that does directly impact our budget.
And I think, to follow on that, I agree, and I think part of the cities, we don't have a great history of tooting our horn, taking credit, letting the community know the things that have been accomplished. So they may see the roads that are torn up, but they forget quickly. So I think the easier way too, and I was hoping the report would be out by January, February at the latest, is that we do it so that it is bullets and photos. People respond to photos. They are not going to read data and graphs. I read that stuff. Most people don't have an interest.
Or a video.
Or a video. But I mean, I think the combination, and I did grab the counties just
Oh,
to
good.
see what
Thank
they
you.
did. I just passed it to Ms. Hall, she has it. But, you know, they got theirs out, and I just think we're a little behind here, to say the least. And I think we don't need to make it as complicated so that it becomes such a project that it doesn't end up being released. We need to get it done, and I think we can do it in a better fashion.
I'd appreciate getting a copy of it as well.
Well, I have one bootleg copy, and Greta has it.
If I can see it, since I'm responsible.
And I've sent some samples from other cities as well.
Okay, say it. I missed it. I want to hear
I
what you.
said I've sent samples from other cities as
Yes.
well
Yes,
a
you
long
have.
time ago.
Yes, we're using those. We're done finally. I did want to respond, though, to something you said. We are currently meeting on a weekly basis with the projects, and they are literally separated by the 4 categories that we have for funding projects, which are grants, legislative, city, and loans. And additionally, we have a 5th category called completed. So that's where we are now. We weren't there a year ago, but we are there now.
So I have a question, Mayor.
Go ahead.
If these things are done, why is it that we have to ask for them instead of that information being provided to us?
So,
Because a lot of things that we have been requesting are things that we state multiple times in multiple different ways in meetings. And I don't want it to appear as if when we get to these meetings that it's a chastising session. But at some point, we have to take accountability and responsibility for what the commission desires. And we oftentimes have to continuously ask for something to be presented, and the only thing we get, it's done, it's a work in progress, and we never see the finished product. And so I would strongly suggest, again, that if things of this magnitude are already in work, even if it's not a complete work, let us know these things so that we won't have to continuously come into the meetings and ask for these things and put staff in a position to make it just seem as if we're not privy or we're not, but I think we just have to do a better job at providing the commission. If the staff is putting forth the work, please let us know so that, one, our hands are on it, and 2, let's thank our staff for doing what it is that they do. So that would be my recommendation as we move forward. Prioritize things as if they need it to be or they need to be, and let's start telling our own story. As I've been stating before, we have Ms. Hall, who's done a phenomenal job with coming in and posting, but if we look at surrounding communities, if we look at other cities and things of that nature, we can step up a little bit more to make sure that our projects and our things that we are doing is a lot more visible to our community. So I would definitely strongly encourage, especially as we go into these budget seasons, once we identify the projects, it'll be to our advantage to take pictures and videos and things of where those projects are now. And so as we begin to accomplish these things within the budget, we can say, hey, this is where we started, this is where we are now. And especially at the end of the budget, when we're going into our next budget, these are all the things that we've accomplished within this budget. These are the things that kind of how we how you brought the prioritizing thing, the green if we're on track, the yellow if it's something that we need to slow down for, or red if it's something that we won't complete. That's the type of transparency that some of these are, the vast majority of the citizens in this community wants to happen. And we get tagged in social media posts, we get emails, we get all of these things, and I'm not able to provide them any additional information that I know simply because that information is not being provided to us, if it makes sense.
And we
And so-
definitely want to create that sense of community pride.
Absolutely.
And I think we've, again, not done a great job at that as a city as a whole. This is a beautiful city. There's a lot of exciting things that have happened, are happening, and people need to be aware of it. Us first, so we can convey that to folks when they ask the questions. I sometimes stand there and say, well, I'll find out for you, but it's tough when you don't know the answers.
And I'll give
The basic
I'll give one prime example, even with the work that has been done on the north side, the Main Street area, the Washington Street, our citizens saw that those streets were repaved, right? And so at this moment, only thing that they're seeing is what was once fixed, after so long, now they're back in disarray. What story have we told? What have we put out in order to let those, and that's just not on the north side, that's just one of the recent things that I've been tagged in, but that's all across our community. And if those are things that we need to budget for as we move forth, because that will probably take some kind of budgeting for signage and things of that nature, and those are the things that we need to make sure that we take in consideration as we moving forward, because there has been nothing to my knowledge that have been put out to advise citizens that this is the reason why the roads are torn back up, the infrastructure, because they're going to think, oh, that's city money that's going to have to come back and be repaved to pave these projects. No, when that should be the responsibility of the contractor. So those are things that we have to do a better job at putting things out so that we can combat some of these things that have been coming back to us that appears to be one way, and it's a total different way.
This is
We will
also the
focus
last
even
year.
more.
Don't we have to close out the opera monies by the end of the
Yes,
year?
and we
too?
have already
So that's
started.
certainly a priority we have to focus
It
on
is.
and get that done.
Yes. And matter of fact, if it's okay, I'd like to mention, I'll make certain that we have like a very big worksheet, lots of pages, but it tells the story on every project. So at least I can send that out. And we do have a summarized version that we utilize for meetings, and I'll make certain that you all have that. We have begun to talk about signage for all of the various projects. I think Ms. Greta did start recently sending out information, but we will improve more in this area.
Go ahead, Commissioner. Oh, I'm sorry. Go ahead, Commissioner Jones. Excuse me.
I did everything that have been said, but you just start talking about signage. I should just let you go ahead, but what I'm gonna say is, in the CRA, when we talked about the CRA districts and the signage, same thing that downtown merchants was talking about, that's the same type of courtesy we wanna give the rest of the constituents.
Yes.
We want them to know what's going on in their neighborhood. Want to let them know that dust is gonna be flying, let them be aware.
Before it happens.
And it's sad that we fail again, because we actually failed downtown. So we should have learned from that. And we just can't keep repeating. That's all. I don't want
Right.
to keep
I
beating the
think-
dead
I think
horse.
recently, Greta, didn't we get the road closures recently? Road
Not
closures,
that.
I think.
And letting them know that
In
we're gonna
advance.
do this project, and this
Right.
project is gonna last. The same thing that merchants were asking. This project
hear
is
it.
gonna last 3 to 6 months or 6 to 9 months. Let
Right.
them know. You had the car wash owner up here, with his issue. What's gonna happen is, even if we try to address his issue, guess what? The next meeting, somebody else is gonna come. So how can we nip it in the bud? Once it brought to our attention, let's nip it in the bud with a solution. And not just on that corner, let's try to maybe,
All of them.
we're gonna have to. If not, you're gonna continue to have the people
Right.
coming up with the same type of issues. That's all I'm saying.
And I think the conversation may not seem as if it's budget related, but ultimately, it all falls back down to budgeting.
Yeah.
You just like took my word somewhat. Because I wanted to say, how can we bring this into the budget?
This-
Does that mean, oh, sorry, does it mean in a perfect world, if we had like a social media, I don't know, what is our social media presence? Does that mean the director needs to have an assistant where that will, how does that, like, let's paint the picture of how we can
let you paint a
improve
minute.
in this area that you're saying, because that seems to be a hot topic for our residents.
Okay, there, I mentioned the electronic signs. We talked about that buying it from in the CRA.
Yep.
We have money budgeted for something like this, directional signs that we use. I think the police department have one already that they use for traffic direction. But if we, being Public Works, need one, you know, they ask for other high dollar stuff. Right, so you know what I'm about to say. I'm not going to mention that again. But that's something that we could use. That's something that you could have went from corner to corner as we start these projects to let folk know that traffic patterns are going to be changed. You're going to have dust or whatever that could help, and that's going to be something that they'll see. The thing that Nicole bought in is off.
Right.
Informational signs. Let's put them out there so that people would know. And short of pamphlets going door to door, maybe with the water bill, let them know that there's going to be some infrastructure projects going on in their neighborhood for the next 3 months, and sorry for the inconvenience, but this is the way we're improving our water system and stuff of that nature. So I think that's a way to get it out to everyone. Everybody's not on social media, but everybody get a water bill to have a house.
You
so I
have to
think-
do it in all the ways possible, because
Yes.
people get their information in different ways. Commissioner Davis?
Okay, so I have a different answer. So the commission is legislative. So when you ask us how, that's really not our position to answer. It is for you to take the information and for Ms. Carty as the city manager to get your staff to figure this out. This is not rocket science. There's a best practice, ChatGPT or whatever else, but ask somebody. This is not rocket science. And again, I'm going to say, I want to call this time in our city the opportunity zone. I just shared this word with my daughter the other day, because I know our intent is not to come off as berating and doing this. But what I can say is, I believe we're tired of saying the same thing over and over. What we're asking for is what I consider a standard operating processes and requests for a city. And that's, I think, all we're asking for. The answer also to you, Ms. Pierre, is we have a project manager who oversees projects. In that project plan should be some communication to impacted areas. And I'm just going to stop at that, because if they don't know how to do that, then we got to go bigger and look at who we're hiring, because that means they're not qualified to do the job. So these are not special requests. And I feel like we've been patient. I believe I've been patient in these. The mayor and the other commissioners have been here much longer than I have. So I hear us asking the same thing even before I ran for this position. So it's just time to execute. Opportunity zone, we're going to be better, and we got to start. Where I want to tie this into the budget is for our department heads, since some are here and hopefully some are listening. We talked about extensively an assessment, right, that's in progress. Again, it's been so long, sometimes I think we just missed the marks on it. I don't even know anymore what we want to know. But I also think it's an opportunity with the direction of exceeding expectations and operating this city in a manner that is appropriate for functioning, appropriately functioning. also means our department heads need to look at their departments and say, not how we've been operating, but how should we operate in light of being efficient and effective. And there may need to be some changes. And I'm hoping in this budget season, our department heads are empowered to do that and make those recommendations, and so that we can come up with an HR plan and the appropriate budget to do it. In the reports that we've seen, the department reports, where it asks for administrative support, I've seen several requests for resources, human resources, to do specific jobs that are probably so delayed they should have been done. And so, again, that's all tied. And I know I'm talking a lot tonight, and I hope you hear my passion and know that it's passion, because I know we're better. But it's time for us to do something different. And it's the time to do it at this budgeting process. I believe we have a lot of opportunity in this budget to cut and reallocate to areas where people need the help. And I think this is the time to do it. Thanks.
Go ahead, Commissioner.
And so I agree with everything that Commissioner Davis has stated, but I also want to bring to the table, I know we had a list of legislative priorities. I want, if those are our priorities and we don't get funded in those priorities, I would like that to take a priority in my steps of being something that's really placed in our budget so that we can actively work towards making some of those things happen. Also, and I'm just gonna say what I feel is my particular, I believe, and I brought it up in the commission, there are some departments that could utilize some additional resources within our community that will be beneficial to our community. We've seen what the COPS unit have done in the historic district, and I've asked in public meeting, is that something that we can implement in the different areas of Palatka, which is a COPS unit, which would do or address some of the public safety concerns that we have. Of course, we know that we're growing by leaps and bounds, and I want to know if we are prepared financially for those leaps and bounds. Commissioner Jones has been a proponent of making sure that those boundaries are, or those conclaves are addressed, which will at some point bring additional funding into our budget, which would strengthen our budget. So just off the cusp of what is important is the legislative priorities that we've had. If we are not successful, which I pray that we are, that we have that be a priority still this budget season, trying to actively work towards obtaining and being a little bit more self-sufficient. And then that COPS unit, which will address public safety. I have more, but those are just my tops for right now.
I think that, for me, some of the things, and when folks talk to me, I know a concern they raise often is that although we understand we're going to grow by leaps and bounds, how do we do that, but yes, safeguard our community and keep the personality and charm of Palatka, that small town feel. And so I think it's also part of our role to make sure we have some of the positive growth management in place so that we don't become overburdened by development. There's a limit to some of that within the city limits, but it still can, going to the west side of the city, really could blow up. And I think, again, we want investment, positive investment and positive growth, but we don't want it to be out of hand. And so how do we work on that as well? And that we can tie that into the budget too. And do we need more resources and planning to ensure that we move forward in that direction?
And Mayor, you stated a very valid point, and it also, which was currently in legislative, how are we going to go ahead and start positioning ourselves if property tax is no longer a thing? I know Commissioner Borum has brought that up many times, but those are things that we need to start taking in consideration as we move forward in this budget season.
Everything stated, I'm jotting down, and my hope is that at the next, or my plan is that at our next budget workshop, we can address the concerns and present At the top of the list would be the property tax, ad valorem taxes.
So let me ask you this. If this meeting was to adjourn right now, would you walk away with the understanding of what we desire? Or is there anything else that we need to dive into to bring further clarity so that when we're no longer here, you're in your office, you're talking to your staff, you're talking to our department heads, that we have given you clear understanding of what we would desire to have at that next meeting?
At this time, if we could, because I heard many things and jotted down many things, and just based off what I heard, I could move forward, but I'm not sure if I heard a lot from Commissioner Jones. I heard you. I agree with this person, I agree with that person, but were there any other
Sometimes if the man don't
initiatives?
speak, let it be.
Can we add one thing on that no one said, but I know it's important?
Well,
And that's that fire assessment.
Yeah, the fire assessment fee, we've got to, and that we've got to talk
know.
about and resolve that and move forward and back that out of the budget so we know moving forward. You know, the fire department's budget and what we can estimate the fire assessment fee at the current rate. And, what does that look like in terms of the budget?
Can somebody say that differently and in a full, complete context and sentence?
Okay, I would like to give it a shot if possible.
Here will you, can you put it in context of what you're saying?
Okay, so right now, we're at the top of I'm sorry.
No, you can go ahead. Go ahead.
Okay, so for our numbers people or even non-numbers people, we're at the top of the sheet that has revenue. We're talking about our revenues and what direction are our revenues going in. We would need to know if we are lowering the assessment fee. Of course, we're not going to increase it, or is it going to stay the same? And based on that plan and direction, we will know how much we can budget for expenses, because our budget, zero-based budgeting, is revenues must equal expenditures. We can't exceed, expenditures can't exceed revenues, revenues can't exceed expenditures. So we're just talking about the revenue and how much revenue can we expect if the plan is to lower the fire assessment.
And that is why I was suggesting we come up with that revenue based on the the fire assessment fee rate that we had last year. We look at what revenue that will produce, and maybe we can look at slightly lower, but that we have those numbers so we know, and then we can look at the fire department's projected budget and subtract and know what's realistic or not to move forward with. It's going to be hard, honestly, to cut things because we don't know the future of ad valorem or the fire assessment fee. Right now, it is going to be hard to reduce rates without taking that risk when we might not have anything to, it might go away for us without we even having a choice in that. So at this point, I would be leery about cutting rates because I don't know if we can afford to do that this year. I think we can cut within the budget and how we use those funds appropriately or not so that people feel more comfortable about their monies being used. You were saying, go ahead, it's your turn, Commissioner Jones.
So, thank you. The fire assessment fee must be lowered. And I say that after talking to constituents, after requesting it last year, but we had time restraints, and it didn't happen at all. Understanding that it does fund the fire department, but as you said, Ms. Pierre, I'm glad you said it, let's do that up front. So we'll go from, after the anticipated cut or lowering of the fire assessment fees, then we do our budget according to what we have remaining, or if there are cuts that's needed, we need to make them. If there's a wish list where, and all staff have to agree, everything you have asked for the last 5 years I've been up here, you have gotten. This time, it's probably time to tighten up the belt a little bit due to the fact that we don't know about the homestead exemption tax. Now, I'm speaking from experience that I live in the city, and when I look at my tax bill, it's not pretty. because we had obligation with the school district. So the voters voted to take on that responsibility. The fire assessment fee was when we was in dire, the city was in bad shape. The city is strong right now, but we can't spend the money like, hey, we have all this excess money, and we should go out and just spend it all willy-nilly. So we have to be responsible up here. And I know Mayor said that she don't think we should make those cuts, but I disagree, because the people that I talk to are not that well off, and I'm not that well off, and it hurts me and others that are saying, hey, listen, I can't pay these taxes. And then, it don't help that they are going to get fines, penalties for not paying it on time. So we have to be responsible and do what we can do to help the constituents, and I'm gonna leave that with that. Now, that's that. Let's go back to the priorities, because as you was reading these priorities, I had two questions. The first one is, as it appears as we had already did this because it's in this document, and it's the number from 1 through 8. Is that in the area of importance or just randomly?
The listing itself?
The
or
listing
numbers?
itself.
The smart city.
Just random.
The smart city, okay.
Just random.
All right, because I agree with what's on here. But the brownfield development, I had a question mark on that, when that became one of the priorities, and if somebody want to explain or talk about it a little more.
The most I can say is that that is an initiative that has been there for about 3 or 4 years. And so we did not remove it. We just simply brought it to see if that's still an initiative.
And we are looking between the consolidated, that brownfield
That is
that's addressed and almost completed, but there's also where Public Works is located now. And we need to address any brownfields issues if there are there as well. So that will be coming up shortly.
Yeah. I don't see anything about the airport out there, because we talked about the expansion of the airport, the runway, and trying to, do more business out there. I think that should be added on to this priority list. But number one, as Commissioner Campbell, and we're gonna always say that, public safety, so that's the reason why we should talk about the fire assessment fee first, because of course, public safety and law enforcement, to me, that's number one priority. Not saying that we're gonna give both entities everything they ask for, but we give them what they need. That's a must, because for people to look forward to moving into our community, they're gonna look at the safety factor and education. We can't do too much about education from this board, but we can do something about safety. We wanna make sure that our neighborhoods are safe. The second is the infrastructure projects. As you said, 25 million plus that we have to make sure it's completed in the next 12 months.
Yes.
That's got to be number one or number two on our priority list. And I would say number two after public safety.
Definitely.
The way everything else fall in line, I'm okay with. But I wanted to make sure that we do have input as the governing board up here, versus it's just handed to us and said, hey, this is y'all initiative. It may be on the list that had been compiled some time ago, but as far as prioritizing, we shuffle the deck and we make that decision. And hopefully that we can all get on the same page with that as we go forward. That's all I have to say.
And to that point, April 23rd, that commission meeting is scheduled for a project, for the project manager to come up and go over all the projects as well. Additionally, we're going to have this time something that we didn't have previously, and that would be speaking about the financing of it. How are we going to achieve it? So finance director is working on that project now that will help us.
And going back to Commissioner Davis's point on our projects, and I know it's it's gonna seem very fast, 12 months getting something completed. But the quality of the workmanship, the craftsmanship that's being put out and that we're receiving, we must do better. And is that the project manager's responsibility at this point going forward?
It is.
Okay,
And he has been pretty aggressive now that he's on board.
so the accountability lies between you and that individual,
Yes,
right?
pretty much, coupled with input from Public Works Director, because they also have a team out there as well. But our projects manager is our key person.
Thank you, that's all.
Go ahead, Commissioner Campbell.
I see that we have social, number 6, the inclusion, which is collaboration with key entities.
Yes.
I would like to know, as we go into this budget, who we identify as those key entities and what financially, or how does that look? Who are they? Because who we may think are key, you may not think. And so that's why we need to have a conversation with who are those key entities. Yeah, we need to have a conversation as to who those are.
Would you like that to be addressed now?
If you have
I
any.
can
I mean,
tell.
you can if you would like.
Well, yes, please. From our perspective, minimally, it would be our county, Putnam County, and we will be meeting with them actually tomorrow. Staff is, as a follow-up to the meeting that was held in January 2026. The next key entity would be, for our perspective, Chamber of Commerce, and so we've been working with that. We did start interacting with the college at one time, and other than that, it would be the business associations, which the primary one that we've been working with would be downtown. But so we're in the midst of making that list more definitive, but that is where we are.
So with these entities, more specifically the county, what are the conversations that are going to be had? It doesn't have to be anything concrete, but I'm more interested in when we meet with these entities, when we meet with the key entities, what are the conversations like? What substance, when it comes down to the budget component, are we going to have? Like, how is that gauged?
Okay. So for the budgeting, like for instance, tomorrow, one of the main items, they've only given one main item. We might have others, but their one main item is impact fees. So we don't really know yet until we sit with them.
So the impact fees that was going to be a part of the conversation was to be beneficial to them. What is the benefit to us?
Right. So for us, I'm going, legal, can you help with this at all?
It doesn't have to be addressed, but again, when we go into these meetings, sometimes we have to take the lead. Sometimes we have to invite them to our house as well
Yeah.
to say, this is what we need from you. Of course, the impact fee was talked about
Before.
January the 13th. I
Yeah.
remember the day exactly. January the 13th, we had that combined meeting. That impact fee was one of the things that was discussed. It wasn't to our benefit. They were trying to recoup the funding of what we collected that should have gone elsewhere. So that conversation is not beneficial to the city of Palatka at this time. What are we doing? And I'm saying this, when we go into these meetings, we have to go into these meetings with the citizens of Palatka, because when Palatka thrives, Putnam County thrives.
Right.
And so a lot of times, you said it, they gave us. What did you give them? And I'm just saying, not just that entity. When we go in, we have to be a little bit more aggressive, not in a negative way,
Right.
but this is what we need. How can we make it happen? If we can't make it happen, at least get us a step closer to where this is a conversation that will be fruitful for everyone.
We also have to discuss with the county legislative priorities, because it was made clear by our legislators last
Absolutely.
year that we have to work together on some combined goals that are mutually important to both entities. So we really have to really look at that and go forward with that. Another, I think, key partner might be the school district in the future, too.
Yeah, we did start meeting with them
People,
recently.
again, as was said, people move here for health and safety, but school district is just as important. So we need to, know what they're up to, and I guess they need to know what we're up to, so we need to
I
have
don't
some
know, I just
conversation.
feel like a lot of meetings are meeting to meet, and
And
I'm just
well, I don't
gonna.
want to meet to meet, I'm just
No,
saying,
man, oh no, I see what you're saying,
Yeah.
because it is beneficial.
I'm not saying to meet with them.
But, well, yeah, like, at some point, we have to be recipients of tangible outcomes. And that's tangible on all different levels, to where our citizens will see that we are benefiting. There is a benefit to this city, and they are reaping the benefits. That's recreation, that's public safety, that's water, that's businesses, that's infrastructure. All of those things, our citizens must be able to say, oh, I know they doing this. This has happened in my neighborhood. This has happened over in the neighborhood. It has to be something tangible. And if it's not tangible to our citizens, it doesn't happen. If it's not tangible to our citizens, we that sit up here are wasting taxpayers' dollars. And that is not what we want. So as we go through this budget season, I want it to be what's tangible, what can we say to our citizens, or what can our citizens receive or be identified as, this is what we got this budget season.
Go ahead, Commissioner Davis.
Circling back to the revenue projections for us to start this budget cycle, we also need to consider where we have opportunity to increase revenues or reduce expenses, obviously. So one example, we are spending dollars on properties owned by the city that we do not receive market rate rent on. So we can't afford to keep doing that anymore. So I'm just saying, those are opportunities I will be looking for when you come with a draft budget. Okay? Any property that the city owns that is currently being used for less than market rate, and we're putting money out for, and especially if they're not on bringing in any income on this tax roll. So you asked specifically, so that is an option in addition to the lower fire rate, scenario that you're going to bring back to Commissioner, and the, I guess, existing. And I want to summarize what I said initially. I think before we can truly dive into this budget, we talked about the project summary. We talked about really kind of state of the city, where we landed in general. I mean, we can start without it, but that will help us refine it. We're going to need that information. I think I talked about asking for a working document that we can sort, so you have that, right? Because I'm looking for that before this next meeting. When Commissioner Campbell asked, do you have what we need to work? I'm going to be looking to get this information electronically in an Excel spreadsheet that's secured, uneditable, but I do need to have the ability to, to sort and search, okay? And filter. What else did I say?
Cash accounts.
Yes. We want to know where those the cash accounts. I mean, what account is where. So, and then I do have some questions, so I hope you're ready to take a note. Remember I told you I had some questions? I'm going to have questions about transfers.
Yeah, we have that.
So I'm going to give you an example of what I'm going to ask for, so you'll be prepared. Okay? So if you look at, I'm going to give you some specific line numbers on this 70-plus page document that I painstakingly went through to find my questions. Okay. So I'd like to understand and this is one example, but if you can do this for each fund, I want to understand the transfers in and transfers out and why we're doing that. In particular, there is, let me go to, I think there's a CRA one. I have, when you get to that CRA budget, I definitely want you to make sure you're prepared to talk to me about that. But if we look at line 2150, transfer from TIF to Better Place. So that's one example, line 2,150, 2150. It's in, I think that's in the Better Place Fund section.
Right.
If you look at 2150, it says transfer from TIF, it came into Better Place, right, as revenue.
Correct.
Why would we do that? Why would we be transferring money from TIF? That, if you don't have to talk tonight, I want to know that before we go any further with budgeting, and I want to understand that.
I had some of the same questions, but I was going to wait for this.
I am, so that, what my hand is saying, I'm not looking for you to answer right now.
Okay.
I'm telling you, these are the kinds of questions that's going to happen, and I would love for you to be prepared to address any of those transfer ins and outs, especially from one fund to another, where funds are reserved for a specific thing. That's an example. So I'm going to say that in every fund where there are transfers in and transfers out, I'd like to understand what is happening, what is the finance department's rationale or methodology. And and the reason I'm asking, because I'm also looking for a better way if this is not acceptable to us because of the those funds can only be used for a certain way. So for me, looking at this in detail this year, that's why I said it looks muddled to me. When these funds need to be separated, I have concerns. And you may have a rational answer, but looking without hearing from you, I'm concerned. Okay, thanks. I'm sorry, one other thing. Ms. Cardy, you talked about some big paper you got and all that. I don't want that. I'm going to go ahead and ask you to have your staff put it in an executive format for us that provides us all the information, but not that.
And
Thank
we
you
do
very
have
much.
that.
Don't piecemeal us anymore,
Yeah.
please,
No,
and thank
we
you.
have it. I just
We
wanna
got to
give
have it
you-
complete, because it's very difficult for us to make decisions when we're getting an email
Yeah.
here, email here. Please present it.
No
Thank you.
problem.
I also think that for the future too, for the people in the community that may want that information, it needs to be in a format that, and user-friendly format,
User-friendly.
so that people are
And
not feeling we're.
And I think that information, if we once we get our website up to par, those working documents can always be a part of our website, and we can point our citizens to that information, so they have it at their fingertips. But I want to make a statement, and I have the honor of serving as the chair of the Finance Audit Committee. And one thing that I remember, and if I'm saying it wrong, Ms. Pierre, I want you to correct me. This time of year is like the Super Bowl for you.
Yes, you said it.
And if this is time of year is the Super Bowl, put us in a position to win.
Okay, I was talking about the audit, but okay.
We were
Now
talking
got
about the
two Super Bowls going.
budget.
Right, okay.
World Cup, whatever you need. If you need it bigger, we can make it bigger.
And I also want to make a statement to our department heads as well, and I think Commissioner Jones made mention of it. In this season, as we look for sustainable growth, as Commissioner Davis always states, I think that when you all are having these conversations, if we say no, it's not because we don't want you to have what you feel that you need to have. We are putting ourselves in a position, because a lot of times when we go to Tallahassee or when we have these conversations, you all are not necessarily privy to them. So we see what could possibly be coming down the pipeline. And if we don't put ourselves in a position to be on the front line combating or be on the defense to make sure that, hey, I know this is what you need, but in this time, we don't know what this legislative session is going to conclude with. And it may have been something there that could have helped us give you what you want, but being that it wasn't there or it's not there or the future of this, that, and the third may go one way, that's why it's hard for all of us during this budget season. But we want to make sure that we give you, as Commissioner Jones stated, what you need in order to just make it for that next budget cycle, because it's not saying that we may not be able to get it for you. But at this time, when you are having, if we say no, I promise you, it's not out of spite, it's out of love, because we still have to put this community in a position to be ready for whatever trickles down from our state and our national government.
Anything else? Any more questions for us right now?
Just a comment that we have fees that I will also be presenting to you to consider. I know this is a bad word, but I want to just say it, increase the fees. Somehow we have to consider compensating for potential loss of revenue in ad valorem.
And so when we have
Or
those,
decrease expenses.
Or, that's right, that's
A
the other
combination
way.
and when we
Combination of
have those
both
conversations,
combinations.
when we have those conversations, make sure, one thing that I used to work for Attorney Benjamin Crump, make it to where even a kindergartner would understand it. So that means if anyone who doesn't understand the jargon that we speak in these chambers, when we're talking about the possibility of increasing fees, we want to make sure that everyone is at its simplest form so that everyone would have a understanding of what it looks like and not just the high level and we miss them. And so when it comes down to implementation of it, that's not what we said. This was that, this, that, and the third. So again, as we have these conversations, we have to be mindful of how we put it out so that all citizens have the ability to soak it in and take it into consideration as we move forward.
And thank you for all you do.
We have a motion